Last Sunset of Riverstone. In a quiet village called Riverstone, surrounded by golden fields and whispering pines, there lived a boy named Eli. He was 16, curious, and always carried a small notebook where he wrote down his dreams, not the kind that came at night, but the ones he wished to live. Every evening, Eli would climb the old windmill on the edge of the village to watch the sunset. The people of Riverstone believed that if you made a wish at the very moment the sun touched the hills, it would come true. Eli didn't believe in such things, not until the last sunset. Eli lived with his grandfather, Thomas, who was once the village's best carpenter. Thomas's hands were rough, but his stories were gentle. Every night he would tell Eli about the days when the river was full of fish, when laughter echoed through the meadows, and when dreams were not something to be afraid of. But time was unkind to Thomas. His eyesight began to fade, and soon he could no longer see the sunsets he loved so much. One evening, he told Eli, "Promise me, when my time comes, you'll watch the sunset for me." Eli promised. Weeks passed, and Thomas grew weaker. The fields turned from green to gold, and the scent of autumn filled the air. Then one morning, Eli woke to silence, the kind of silence that follows after something important leaves the world. His grandfather was gone. The village held a small funeral by the river. Everyone said kind words, but Eli didn't speak. He only stared at the windmill, knowing what he had to do. That evening he climbed to the top. The wind was cold, but the sky burned orange and red. He took out his notebook, opened to the last page, and wrote, "For Grandpa, I'll watch every sunset for you." Tears blurred his vision as he looked at the horizon. The sun dipped lower, painting the sky in fire. At that exact moment, Eli whispered, "I wish I could see you one more time." And then a soft breeze brushed his cheek. He turned around, thinking it was the wind, but he heard a familiar voice say, "You kept your promise, my boy." Eli froze. The air shimmered, and for a brief golden second, he saw his grandfather standing beside him, smiling, whole, and young again. The light wrapped around him like morning mist. Eli wanted to speak, but all he could do was smile back. When the last ray of sunlight disappeared, so did the vision. The world grew quiet again, but Eli no longer felt alone. From that day on, every evening, no matter the weather, Eli climbed the windmill. Sometimes he wrote poems about the sky. Sometimes he just sat there, whispering stories into the wind. And somehow, he always felt that someone was listening. Years later, when Eli became an old man himself, children of Riverstone often saw him sitting by the windmill during sunset. They called him the keeper of the light. When they asked why he watched the sky so much, he simply smiled and said, "Because somewhere, someone I love is watching it too." And on the day Eli's time came, the villagers noticed something strange. The sunset lasted longer than ever before, glowing brighter, warmer, as if waiting for him to climb one last time. They say on that evening, two figures stood together on the windmill, one young, one old, watching the last sunset of Riverstone. And from that day, the people of the village never stopped climbing the hill at dusk, whispering their wishes into the wind. Because in Riverstone, the sun doesn't just set, it carries promises to the other side of the sky.